Maya fell asleep on my lap like she had done it 100 times before. The strange part was, she kind of had. Not exactly like that, not with her face turned toward my stomach and one hand tucked under the sleeve of my gray hoodie, but close enough that I knew how to sit without waking her. Close enough that my body knew to stay still before my brain caught up. My apartment smelled like cold takeout, wet pavement, and the cheap coffee I had brought home from the hospital cafeteria and never finished. Rain kept tapping against the windows like it wanted in. The TV was on low, some cooking show either of us had chosen, and the host was talking way too happily about garlic while Maya slept through the whole thing. She had been awake for almost 30 hours. Her grandmother's operation had started early that morning and then kept going longer than anybody expected. Maya's mom had cried once in the waiting room and once in the parking garage, in that quiet way adults do when they're trying not to scare their own kids. Her brother was stuck 2 states away because his flight got delayed. So it was me at 6 in the morning, pulling up outside Maya's building with the heater running and 2 coffees in the cup holders. She got in wearing yesterday's jeans, no makeup, and a black sweater with one sleeve pushed up because she'd been twisting the cuff all morning. "You look terrible," I said. "You look worse," she said, and took the coffee from my hand. That was Maya. Even scared, even tired, she still had enough left to insult me like it was a public service. I drove her to the hospital. I bought the vending machine coffee when the good cafe downstairs closed for cleaning. I sat beside her while she stared at the same wall for hours. I drove her mom home after the doctor finally came out and said her grandmother was stable, just exhausted. Then I brought Maya back to my place because she was swaying on her feet and still insisting she could get a rideshare home. "You almost walked into a trash can," I told her. "It moved," she said. "It did not. It looked guilty." So I took her keys from her hand, ignored her glare, and said, "You're coming with me." She complained for exactly 4 minutes in the car, then went quiet. By the time we reached my building, she had her forehead against the window and her eyes half closed. Now she was on my couch, wearing my hoodie because she claimed my apartment was freezing, even though the heat was on. Her shoes were kicked off near the coffee table. One sock had a hole near the toe. She had eaten 3 bites of noodles, stolen 1 piece of chicken from my container, and then leaned sideways until her shoulder pressed against mine. For a while either of us talked. That was how it worked with us. 7 years of friendship gave you permission to stop performing normal human behavior. We could sit in a room with takeout going cold, and the TV mumbling at us, and not feel the need to fill every second. She shifted beside me and rubbed both hands over her face. "I can't tell if I'm hungry or just emotionally unemployed," she muttered. "That phrase makes no sense." "It does to me. That's usually your defense." She turned her head and looked at me with one eye open. "You're warmer than the couch." "I'm honored." "No, your furniture. That feels less nice." "Warm furniture." Before I could answer, she slid down and dropped her head into my lap like it was the most obvious place in the world to put it. My hands went up a little, useless and awkward. "Maya." "What?" "You can't just do that and fall asleep." Her eyes were already closed. "Watch me." "Maya." "Shh, furniture doesn't talk." Then she actually fell asleep. Just like that. Her breathing slowed. Her fingers loosened around the cuff of my hoodie. The rain kept tapping. The TV kept whispering. And I sat there staring down at the girl who had been my first call for 7 years. We met in a bookstore cafe over the last blueberry scone. She called me selfish because I reached for it first. I told her she was dramatic. She broke it in half, handed me the smaller piece, and somehow became permanent in my life before I understood what was happening. After that, she was just there. Bad days. Good news. Family stuff. Random errands. Late-night food. Apartment problems. She had once helped me carry a broken shelf down 3 flights of stairs while calling me an idiot the whole time. I had once waited outside her office with soup because she texted me one word: awful. Everyone had made comments. My sister. Her brother. A bartender who saw us argue over fries for 20 minutes, and then asked how long we had been together. We always said the same thing. Best friends. Simple. Safe. Easy to explain. Except nothing about Maya asleep on my lap felt simple. It felt familiar, which was worse. Familiar meant I had no excuse for the way my chest tightened. Familiar meant this had been happening in smaller ways for years, and I had just gotten good at looking away. I leaned my head back against the couch and tried to breathe like a normal person. That was when her phone lit up beside her. It was lying screen up near her hip, half tucked under the edge of a napkin. I didn't reach for it. I didn't move. But the room was dim, and the bright screen caught my eye before I could stop myself. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a call. A draft notification. Only 2 lines were visible. If I tell Jake the truth, I lose him. If I don't, I lose him anyway. Everything in me went still. The TV kept talking. The rain kept tapping. Maya kept sleeping, warm and trusting, her cheek resting against my leg like the world had not just shifted under both of us. I looked away fast, like that could undo it. The screen went dark a second later. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't pick it up. I didn't read anything else. But those 2 lines were already in my head, sitting there like they had always belonged there. If I tell Jake the truth, I lose him. If I don't, I lose him anyway. I looked down at Maya, at the dark hair across her cheek, at my hoodie swallowed around her shoulders, at the person I had spent 7 years calling my best friend because every other word felt too dangerous. And for the first time, I understood that the safe version of us might already be over. Maya woke up like she was trying to sneak back into the world without bothering anyone. First, her fingers moved against my hoodie sleeve. Then her eyebrows pulled together. Then she opened one eye, saw my shirt from way too close, and froze. For about 3 seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she whispered, "Please tell me I did not drool on you." I looked down at her. "I'm still deciding if I want to be honest." She lifted her head fast, which was a mistake, because she immediately winced and grabbed the side of the couch. "Careful," I said. "I'm fine. You just lost a fight with sitting up. I'm recalibrating." Her hair was messy on one side, and the hood of my sweatshirt had bunched up around her neck. She looked smaller than usual inside it, but her face still had that Maya expression, like she was tired enough to cry but stubborn enough to mock the room first. She pulled her knees up and tucked her feet under her. "How long was I out?" "Maybe 40 minutes. That's not bad. You were unconscious on my leg. Your leg survived." "Barely." She glanced down at the hoodie, then at me. "I'm keeping this, by the way. You already have 2 of mine. Those are older models." "It's a hoodie, not a phone. This one has hospital trauma in it now. It's bonded to me." Normally, I would have said something back without even thinking. That was how we worked. She tossed something stupid at me, and I tossed something stupid back, and that kept us from standing too close to anything real. But my mouth didn't move fast enough. Maya noticed. Of course she did. Her face changed a little. Not much, just enough that the joking part of her stepped back. She studied me like she was reading a receipt for a charge she didn't remember making. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. Jake." I hated how quickly she could get past me when she wanted to. 7 years gave her too much access. She knew my fake calm, my real calm, my tired calm, and whatever this was, she knew it was not any of those. She looked from my face to the couch between us. Her phone was still there. The screen was dark now, but it might as well have been glowing. Maya's eyes stayed on it for 1 second too long. Then her shoulders went still. "Oh," she said. I sat forward slightly. "Maya, what did you see?" Her voice was quiet. Not sharp. That was worse. "I didn't pick it up," I said right away. "I didn't touch it. Your screen lit up, and I saw 2 lines. That's it." She reached for the phone and held it in both hands, but she didn't unlock it yet. What 2 lines? I swallowed. The part about telling me the truth and losing me. And not telling me and losing me anyway. Her thumb hovered over the side button. For a second, she looked like someone had opened a door in a room she thought was locked. Then she pressed the button, locked the phone, and turned it face down on the couch. Right, she said. Maya, I'm sorry. She laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That is so perfectly terrible. I didn't mean to look. I know. I looked away. I know. I'm not saying that to defend myself. I just need you to know I didn't read anything else. She nodded, still staring at the phone like it had betrayed her personally. That was already enough. The apartment felt too quiet after that. Even the TV seemed rude. I grabbed the remote and shut it off. The sudden silence made the rain louder. Maya rubbed her palms over her face, then let them fall into her lap. I was trying not to do this tonight. Do what? This. She moved one hand between us. Whatever this is. I waited. She breathed out slowly. Because today was already too much. My mom was falling apart, my grandma was in that room forever, and I kept thinking if I sat down for too long, I was going to break in some very inconvenient public location. You didn't. No, because I'm classy. I wait until I'm wearing stolen clothing in your apartment. That's very classy. She looked at me, and for a second the corner of her mouth almost moved. Then it disappeared. When my grandma woke up, she said, she was still groggy. The nurse said not to take everything too seriously because people say random things after surgery. Okay. But she looked right at me and said, if you love somebody, don't build a whole personality around pretending you don't. I didn't move. Maya looked down at her hands. And then she asked for ice chips like she hadn't just thrown a chair through my entire life. The words sat between us. I could picture her grandmother saying it. Tiny woman, sharp eyes, always acting like she knew more than everyone in the room and usually being correct. So that's why you wrote the draft, I said. Maya nodded. I opened my notes app in the hallway. I don't even know why. I wasn't going to send anything. I wasn't going to show anyone. I just needed to put the sentence somewhere other than inside my head. My heart was beating hard now, but I kept my voice steady. Was it about me? She closed her eyes. I almost took it back. I almost said she didn't have to answer. I almost protected the old version of us again because that was the habit, and habits are easy when you're scared. But she opened her eyes before I could save either of us. Do you want the easy answer or the real one? She asked. The real one. Her face tightened, not like she was angry, more like she was bracing herself. Yes, she said. It was about you. I heard it. I understood it. Still, for some reason, my brain needed a second to let the words become real. Maya looked away first. I didn't want you to see it like that, she said. I didn't want you to see it at all, honestly. But especially not as a stupid phone notification while I was passed out on your lap like some emotionally unstable house cat. You're not emotionally unstable. Don't be generous. I hate generous right now. I'm not being generous. She shook her head. Jake, once you saw it, I couldn't fix it. That's the part one hate. I couldn't edit it down into something cooler. I couldn't make it sound casual. I couldn't add 3 jokes around it so you'd have an exit. You don't need to make it sound cooler. Her eyes came back to mine, guarded and tired. It's humiliating, she said. No, I said. It's honest. That landed harder than I expected. Her mouth parted a little, then closed. She looked at me like she didn't trust the floor under her feet. You don't understand, she said. I'm trying to. No, I mean you don't understand what it's like to be that close to someone for years and have to act normal about it. To call you first when something good happens. To lean on you when everything is awful. To know exactly how you take your coffee and which side of the couch you like and what your face looks like when you're pretending you're fine. I didn't answer. Her voice got quieter. And then to tell myself every single time that it's just friendship because friendship is safe, and I can keep you if I stay inside that word. My throat tightened. Maya. She shook her head once. I'm not asking you for anything. I didn't plan this. I'm just saying, yes, it was about you. And now you know. The old move would have been to soften it, dodge it, give her some comfortable answer we could both hide behind. But I couldn't. Not after seeing those 2 lines. Not after hearing her say yes. I should have understood sooner, I said. She looked at me carefully. Understood what? That you weren't the only one doing that. Her face went still again, but this time for a different reason. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, hands clasped because I didn't trust them anywhere else. I don't know exactly what to say yet, I told her. But that is not a no. Maya stared at me, and in the quiet of my apartment, with the rain sliding down the windows and her phone face down between us, I watched her realize that I had not rejected her. And somehow that made the room feel even more dangerous than before. Maya kept looking at me like she was waiting for the sentence to turn around and become something safer. That is not a no, she repeated. I nodded. Yeah. That's a terrible sentence. I know. It's the kind of sentence that makes people ask follow-up questions. I figured. She pulled the sleeves of my hoodie over her hands and sat back against the arm of the couch. She looked tired enough to fall asleep again, but her eyes were too alert now. The whole room had changed. Same rain, same takeout containers, same lamp in the corner, but now every object felt like it had heard too much. Maya swallowed. Don't say anything kind just because I look pathetic. You don't look pathetic. Jake. You look exhausted. That's different. She gave me a flat look. That was still kind. I mean it. That's worse. I almost smiled, but I couldn't hold it. Not with her sitting there, waiting for me to either step closer or run back into the old joke we had lived inside for years. So I told her the truth as plainly as I could. I don't think I've ever been only your friend about this. Maya's face changed so fast it almost hurt to watch. Her eyes widened a little, then narrowed, like she didn't want to accept the words too quickly in case they disappeared. What does that mean? She asked. It means... I rubbed both hands over my face. It means every time I tried dating somebody, I compared them to you without meaning to. She stayed still. It means I'd sit across from someone perfectly nice at dinner, and they'd be talking, and some stupid part of me would think, Maya would hate this place. Or Maya would have made fun of that waiter's vest. Or Maya would have stolen half my fries by now and acted offended when I noticed. Her mouth twitched once, but her eyes stayed serious. It means whenever anything happened, I said, good, bad, embarrassing, boring, whatever, you were still the first person I wanted to tell. Not because you were convenient. Because it felt wrong to tell anyone else first. Maya looked down. I kept going because stopping now felt worse. And it means normal people probably don't spend years pretending their entire emotional life is not built around one person. The rain hit harder for a moment, or maybe I just noticed it more. Maya let out a slow breath. You knew that? Not cleanly. What does that mean? It means I knew enough to avoid knowing more. She looked at me then, really looked. Why didn't you ever say anything? I had asked myself that question so many times that the answer should have been ready. But saying it out loud made it feel smaller and more honest. Because you mattered too much, I said. Her face softened, but she didn't interrupt. I wasn't just scared you'd say no. I could have survived awkward. I mean, badly, with a lot of dramatic pacing and probably too much pizza, but I could have survived it. I looked at her hands tucked in my sleeves. I was scared I'd change us. That I'd put something in the room we couldn't take back. And then every normal thing would feel strange. Every call, every errand, every movie night. I thought if I named it wrong, I'd ruin the one relationship I didn't know how to live without. Maya's eyes got shiny, but she blinked and kept her chin up. That's what I was doing, she said quietly. I know. No, I mean exactly that. Protecting it. Protecting you. Protecting me. Protecting this stupid couch friendship like it was a glass table. That couch is older than our friendship. And less emotionally confusing. Fair. She gave a tiny laugh, and it almost broke me because it sounded like relief and fear at the same time. Then her phone buzzed. Both of us looked at it. Maya grabbed it quickly, checked the screen, and stood. It's my mom. Answer. She stepped toward the kitchen, still wrapped in my hoodie. Hey. Yeah, I'm awake. I sat there while she listened. Her shoulders were tight at first, then dropped slightly. Okay. That's good. No, Mom, that's good. She paused and rubbed her forehead. I'll come early. I promise. Try to sleep a little. Please. Yeah. Love you too. She ended the call and stood in the kitchen for a second, staring at nothing. How is she? I asked. Grandma's stable. Grumpy, apparently, which is a good sign. She asked why nobody brought her real coffee. That sounds like her. Yeah. Maya came back to the couch but didn't sit as close this time. I need to go back early in the morning. My mom says she's fine, which means she's lying, so I should be there. I'll drive you. She shook her head. No. You already did the entire day. Maya. Jake. She looked at me. Tonight got bigger than I expected. I leaned back slowly. Yeah. I can't just stay here like nothing happened. We don't have to pretend nothing happened. I know. That's the problem. There was a silence, but it didn't feel empty. It felt full of every almost moment we had walked past for 7 years. Maya folded her arms, then unfolded them. Tell me something more honest. I knew what she was asking. Not for a speech. Not for a promise with perfect wording. Just one clear thing she could trust. So I said it. I want to kiss you. Write in the comments, was I right to wait until tomorrow and make it a real choice, or should I have kissed Maya that night when we both finally knew the truth? Her breath caught. She didn't move away. She didn't move closer either. I kept my hands still. But I don't want to do it tonight. The smallest line formed between her eyebrows. Why? Because you haven't slept. Because your grandma just had a huge day. Because your mom is scared. Because my heart is trying to climb out of my chest, and your phone accidentally started a conversation we were both too scared to start ourselves. Maya looked at me, quiet now. And I don't want either of us waking up tomorrow wondering if it happened because we were tired and scared and sitting in the dark after a hospital day. I said. I want it to be a choice. Not a collapse. Her eyes dropped to my mouth for half a second, then back up. That is annoyingly responsible. I hate it too. I was ready to call you a coward, but now you're being mature and it's inconvenient. I can stop. Don't. She sat beside me again, closer this time, but not touching. You're right, she said. I don't want our first real step to feel like it slipped out by accident. Me neither. She nodded once, like she had decided something. Then I should go home. I didn't like that, but I understood it. Okay. If I stay, I'm going to make irresponsible choices and then blame your hoodie. That hoodie has done nothing wrong. It knows what it did. I walked her to the door because standing still felt impossible. She put on her shoes slowly, one hand on the wall for balance. The apartment hallway light spilled in when I opened the door, harsh and ordinary after everything that had just happened. Maya stepped out, then turned back. For 1 second, she looked nervous. Maya, who could argue with strangers, nurses, landlords, and me without blinking, looked nervous on my doorstep. Then she rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Soft. Quick. Warm enough to make me forget every smart thing I had ever said. When she pulled back, her face was close to mine. Don't make me wait another 7 years, Jake, she whispered. Then she walked down the hall before I could answer. I stood in the doorway until the elevator doors closed behind her. Then I shut my door and leaned back against it, my apartment suddenly too quiet, too messy, too full of her. The takeout was still on the table. The rain was still hitting the windows. Her coffee cup was still beside mine. But tomorrow had become the most important day of my life. I didn't sleep much. I tried. I turned off the lights, cleaned up the takeout, put Maya's coffee cup in the sink, then stood there looking at it like it might tell me what kind of man waits 7 years to be honest with the person standing right in front of him. By 6:30, I was already dressed. By 7, I was in line at the only coffee place near the hospital that didn't taste like warm cardboard. By 7:30, I walked through the hospital doors with 2 coffees in one hand and a small paper bag in the other. A blueberry scone. It felt ridiculous and exactly right. The family waiting area was quieter than it had been the day before. A few people sat scattered in the chairs, half awake, holding paper cups and staring at walls. The morning news played silently on a TV mounted in the corner. Maya was in the same row of chairs near the window, still wearing my gray hoodie. She had a magazine open in her lap, but I could tell from the way her eyes weren't moving that she had been reading the same page for a while. Her hair was pulled back badly, like she had done it in an elevator. Her sneakers were tucked under her chair. She looked exhausted, but steadier. Then she saw me. I don't know how to explain it without making it sound bigger than it was. Nothing dramatic happened. She didn't run to me. Music didn't start. Nobody clapped. But her whole face changed. Like the room had been too bright and too cold, and then I was there, and something in her finally believed last night had not been some strange tired dream. She closed the magazine. "You came early." I held up the coffees. "You threatened me." "I did not threaten you." "You said not to make you wait another 7 years." That felt like a warning. That was emotional guidance. Same thing when it comes from you. She tried not to smile and failed. I handed her the coffee first. Extra cinnamon. Her eyes dropped to the cup, then back to me. "You remembered." "I remember everything about you," I said. "That is sort of the problem." The smile faded, but not in a bad way. I sat beside her and gave her the paper bag. She opened it, looked inside, and let out a quiet laugh. "Jake. Blueberry scone. Our first fight. You called me selfish. You reached for the last one. You split it and gave me the smaller half. You still ate it. I was scared of you. You should have been." We sat there for a second, both looking at the scone like it was some tiny edible witness to our entire history. Then Maya broke off a piece and handed it to me. This time, it was the bigger half. I looked at it, then at her. She shrugged. "Don't make it weird. Too late. Eat the scone." I ate it. For a while, we just sat beside each other. Nurses passed through. Someone's phone rang. A man at the far end of the room snored once, and woke himself up. The world kept being ordinary, which somehow made the moment feel even more real. Maya wrapped both hands around her coffee. "So. Yeah." She glanced at me. "Which part of last night did you mean?" "All of it." "That is not specific enough." "I know." She waited. I turned the coffee cup in my hands, then stopped because I was only doing it to avoid looking at her. So I looked. "I meant that I haven't been only your friend for a long time," I said. "Maybe ever. I meant that I have loved you in obvious ways and invisible ways and ways I kept pretending were just normal because the word friend gave me somewhere safe to stand." Maya's face went very still. "Every time I called you my best friend," I said, "I was telling the truth. But only half of it." Her fingers tightened around her cup. "I'm done letting fear talk for me," I said. "It has done a terrible job." She looked down, and her mouth pulled to one side. "It really has. I want to take you to dinner." She looked back at me. "Not because we're tired," I said. "Not because last night got emotional. Not because a phone lit up at the worst possible time. Not because we're sitting in a hospital and everything feels fragile." Her eyes stayed on mine. "Dinner on purpose," I said. A real date. With me showing up knowing exactly what I'm asking for. I want this to become something, Maya. Not something hidden inside our old routine. Something we choose. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then she laughed softly and looked toward the ceiling. What? I asked. Your timing is awful. I know. My grandmother is in a hospital bed, my mother is running on crackers and anxiety, I'm wearing your hoodie, and you brought me a pastry with emotional history. That sounds romantic when you list it like that. It sounds chaotic. That too. She looked at me again. Her eyes were tired but clear. Yes, she said. I blinked. Yes? Yes, dinner on purpose. I tried to stay normal about it. I really did. But Maya saw my face and smiled. You look pleased with yourself. I'm being calm. You look like you just won a small lottery. Feels bigger. That got her. She looked away, but I saw her smile before she hid it behind her coffee. I set my cup down on the little table beside us. Then, slowly, because I wanted to give her every chance to stop me, I reached for her hand. She looked at my hand first. Then she turned her palm up. Our fingers laced together in the middle of a hospital waiting area, under bad fluorescent lights, with half a blueberry scone between us and a silent morning show on the TV. It wasn't much to anyone else. To me, it felt like stepping out of a room I had been locked in for years and realizing the door had never been locked at all. 2 days later, her grandmother was discharged. I was standing by the curb with Maya while her mom pulled the car around. Her grandmother sat in a wheelchair with a blanket over her knees, looking smaller than usual but still fully capable of judging everybody. She looked at Maya's hand in mine. Then she looked at me. You, she said, pointing one thin finger. I straightened. Me? You look too pleased. Maya made a sound like she was choking on air. I'm just glad you're feeling better, I said. Her grandmother narrowed her eyes. Maya leaned close to me and whispered. She knows. Everyone knows, her grandmother said. A month later, Maya and I were still us. She still stole food from my plate and acted like I had offered it. I still changed the ending of movies just to annoy her, and she still argued like the director might hear her through the screen. She still borrowed my hoodies. I still pretended I wanted them back. She sent me stupid texts during work meetings. I sent worse ones back. Not everything became smooth just because we finally named it. Sometimes we were awkward. Sometimes one of us would reach for the old joke and then stop because the room was different now. But it was a good different. I could kiss her in parking lots. I could take her to dinner without pretending it was just because we were both hungry. I could hold her hand without hiding it inside some excuse about crossing a street or keeping her warm. Nothing about being with Maya felt sudden. It felt like finally calling something by its real name.